Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. Quick video today because, well, by the time you see this, I will be at MCM London Comic Con, where I'll be test driving my brand new, literally just arrived the day before, Gandalf costume. In fact, here are a couple of pictures of me trying on all the various different bits and pieces. Hopefully, it's now obvious to everybody why I've been growing the beard for so long, although there wasn't anything I could do about the hair, so I had to make do with a wig. I wasn't actually expecting all the different bits for this costume to have arrived on time. And in fact, one piece didn't, the cloak, but I can do without that, especially in the middle of summer. It'll come in handy for October Comic Con. Anyway, back to the game. And yes, I will be posting pictures from Comic Con at some point next week. Anyway, in our first segment today, sailing the Udaloy, we have HMS Olive T126. And the reason why he's called himself that is not just because T126 was the pennant number of the World War II minesweeper HMS Olive, but he's also the nephew of Lieutenant Robert Turner of the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve, who during World War II was the commanding officer of HMS Olive. So this segment of today's video is dedicated to the memory of Lieutenant Robert Turner, Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve Commanding Officer of the minesweeper HMS Olive in World War II. So from here on in, whenever I say HMS Olive, I'm referring to the guy playing the Udaloy here, otherwise things could get very confusing. Now on the whole, this was not a particularly interesting or eventful battle for HMS Olive, but two incidents did stand out, one at the beginning of the battle and then one at the end of the battle, or at least the end of the battle as far as HMS Olive was concerned. Practically the first ship that he spotted was the enemy Shimakaze attempting to do a sneaky sneak around the flank, but it failed. So then he does an emergency torpedo launch, but, well, look at those torpedoes. What are they aimed at? In fact, I'm going to take control of the camera here. There's nothing there. The hell was that? I mean, just... Really? Yes, really. And then he manages to sail outside of his own smokescreen and turns so that he's got nowhere to go but the island right ahead of him. And then, the ultimate insult, the Shimakaze gets torpedoed and sunk by a Udaloy. There are only two more humiliating ways to go if you're in a Shimakaze in World of Warships, and that's getting torpedoed and sunk by a cruiser or a battleship. So, on the bright side, it could have been worse for him, just not much. Anyway, as far as HMS Olive is concerned, the rest of the battle was fairly uneventful. Up until the dying seconds. Or at least the dying seconds for him. Let's skip ahead and see why. HMS Olive, it has to be said, is suffering from a little bit of a pants-on-head moment himself here. The Tirpitz B has just made short work of the friendly Hindenburg. And let's not forget, the Tirpitz has torpedoes. And you really don't want to get torpedoed by a battleship when you're in a destroyer, because if you did, you would never live that down. Not to mention the Tirpitz also has some extremely nasty secondaries. However, there isn't really a safe spot on this side of the island either, because that lot are waiting to kill him. So, in desperation, he triggers his smokescreen. He manages to get the kill on the Tirpitz. He's burning, he triggers the damage control, but it's an act of desperation. He's been finished, but he did manage to get one set of torpedoes away. But it would be a miracle if they hit anything. Both the Edinburgh and the Rune have hydro, and both the Edinburgh and the Rune were shooting at him, so they knew that there was a destroyer there. But knowing that there's a torpedo threat, and having the common sense to actually do something about it, are two entirely different things. If he gets the Rune, that's going to 0-point the enemy team, and that'll be the end of the match. Yep, that just happened. Meanwhile, on Two Brothers, Flambass is up to his old tricks yet again. It's like that central channel on this map is a Flambass magnet. Only this time, he's brought a pair of friends, and they're all in Tier 10 battleships. Just to make things fair for the enemy team, they announce their intention right at the start of the match. There's going to be no guessing involved here. They are telling the enemy team exactly what they're going to do and when they're going to do it. And the enemy team, who can clearly take a joke, have announced that they'll be ready and waiting for them. Do you think it's going to make any difference to the outcome? No, I didn't think so either. They've also been joined by a friendly Worcester for a little bit of radar and hydro consumable support. The Worcester's popped his radar, so there are no surprises waiting for them around the corner in the middle of this channel. So thank you, Worcester. All clear. Full speed ahead, chaps. And off they go. For once on Two Brothers with the middle push, I have to say I'm actually reasonably impressed with the enemy team. They're not all just sitting there at the mouth of the channel, broadside on, waiting to get citadeled. They are in fact sitting outside the mouth of the channel, to the left and right side, with the exception of the Montana over there, waiting for Flambas and his division to come steaming out, presenting broadside to them. And if it had been anybody else, this might have worked, but this isn't exactly the first time Flambas has done this. So all he really has to do is be cautious and patient, because as long as they're all sitting there waiting for something to happen, one of two things is going to happen. Because they're all sitting there waiting for these three, they're not defending the flanks, so they're probably going to get outflanked before too long, or they're going to get bored and make a mistake. Or they could do what that Missouri's doing, which is basically nothing, with his guns pointing the wrong way. Technically, I realise that's one of three things. I fail to see how the Missouri could not have known that these guys were on the way. I mean, it was probably his radar that actually detected them, but if for some bizarre reason he wasn't aware of their presence before, he's bloody well aware of their presence now. So, as well as that Missouri, there's a Vladivostok, that Montana, a Minotaur, and a Gearing just lurking around the corner. And, of course, both the Gearing and the Minotaur have torpedoes, so we're just going to drop the anchor here. Let's not do anything foolish. Wait for the inevitable torpedoes to go sailing harmlessly by, and see what we can do about deleting the Minotaur from the map. Flambas, meanwhile, paying more attention to the Missouri, and the Shimakaze, who's attempting to sneak up there and isn't being nearly as sneaky as he probably thinks he is. Fresh torpedoes in the water, presumably from the Minotaur, who would have turned around and emptied his torpedo tubes on the other side. And he tried to cut the angle so fine on the second set that most of them pretty much hit the beach. Here comes the Missouri, and ooh, he just got spanked good and proper by the Yamato. Shimakaze sneaking in behind him. Well, not really sneaky though, is it? We can all see him. I mean, it's the exact opposite of being sneaky. So, also there's the fact that the Worcester to the rear has his hydro up, so if he tries to do anything funny with his torpedoes, we're all going to know about it. Oh, here he comes. Alright chaps, let's just forget the Missouri for now. Spank that Shimmer. Perhaps realising the multiple errors that he's just committed. I mean, if he's going to fire any torpedoes now, the first thing he's going to hit will be the friendly Missouri. He attempts to escape in a smokescreen. Just a little bit too late. Scratch one Shimakaze. Resume fire on the Missouri, who is determined that he's going to take Flambas with him. And you know what? He just might. Then again, he might not. Because there are 3 Tier 10 battleships shooting at him, and the closer he gets to Flambas, the more broadside he's giving, so that gross occur first. Close, but no cigar. Meanwhile, further members of the enemy team still think that they're being sneaky. The Minotaur has made a reappearance. The Zhao is attempting to use the Shimakaze smokescreen, as is the Lightning, but they have all countered without the radar from the Worcester to the rear. There he is. Good chap. This time around, some of those inevitable torpedoes from the Lightning might actually hit something useful, because none of them are going to have to make a dogleg turn around a friendly Missouri in order to do so. But again, Flambas and his buddies said that they were going to push up the middle. They never said they were going to steam right through the other end, and there's absolutely no reason for them to do it. There are plenty of visible targets for them to shoot at, and pushing out through the mouth of the channel would only expose them to a crossfire. And you know what? Considering that Lightning had 4 sitting ducks to shoot at, don't forget there's a Worcester with them as well, that torpedo salvo wasn't too bad. It could have been a lot worse. Well, at this point, Flambas has by far the most health remaining of his 2 division mates, so while he's by no means going to just go charging out of the mouth of the channel, because there's still a Gearing sitting over there to the left. He's basically been sitting there this entire game just waiting to torpedo the 3 of them. But he is at least going to push forward just a little bit, just to see if he can't entice the enemy team into taking shots at somebody other than his 2 division mates for a change. Meanwhile, the Worcester, slightly to the rear, is keeping some concentrated fire going on the Minotaur up there. You remember I mentioned that there was a gearing that had been spotted by the Worcester's radar the first time we used it several minutes ago. Just over there he is, yep. He's still there, still being patient, still waiting for his moment. You know what would be funny? Because he's clearly just been sitting there for the last 10 minutes with his finger on the torpedo launch button. Somebody should start moving forward to make it look like they're going to come out. Preferably somebody in a Tier 10 German battleship with hydroacoustic search. And then suddenly slow down and turn at the last second, just to see if we can bait the gearing into firing his torpedoes. Now that's just cruel. And now that the gearing has popped his cork, now we can start accelerating, and since he fired from extremely close range, well inside the hydro range of the Grosse Kurfürst, I feel kind of bad for that gearing. He's been waiting patiently the whole match, only to have all of his hopes and dreams dashed at the last second. What happened next was fairly predictable. It was something of a rout actually at this point. They've only lost 2 ships, half the enemy team are dead, and they're taking crossfire from every direction imaginable. What happened next was fairly brutal, but at least it was fairly short. Remember kids, Flambas is a professional. Don't try this at home without adult supervision. We're going to finish off proceedings today with a rather amusing glitch discovered by Redguns99 in the USS Worcester here on the Islands of Ice map. However, credit has to be given to his teammate, the Leprechaun in the USS Montana, without whose assistance what you're about to see would not have been possible. And there he is. Neither of them were really paying too much attention to where they were going there, but no real harm done, just a little love tap for the first encounter between our 2 star-crossed lovers. Shortly afterwards, however, these 2 red-blooded American warriors are going to find themselves in a slightly more intimate embrace as they turn around after retreating from some concentrated enemy firepower and realise that they're in danger of having a rather unexpected encounter with the map border. Both ships engage hard rudder in an attempt to avoid the inevitable, but hitting the border has slowed down red guns. And what follows is quite frankly just not suitable family entertainment for YouTube. Oh dear, get a room. Still, they did at least both see the funny side. And I hope you did too, because that rather abbreviated World of Warships video is it for today. As I said, by the time you see this, I will be at MCM London Comic Con. But don't worry, I pulled a double shift in the salt mines on Wednesday night to ensure that Saturday's video was pre-uploaded, so you'd all have something to look forward to tomorrow as well. And on that bombshell, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.